Test, test. Test, test. everyone. Welcome to the Startup in Residence Network webinar. We're so excited to have cities joining us here to learn more about the Startup in Residence program and really kind of come together to think about how we as cities can collaborate on how to transform government through entrepreneurship. So just a quick run through of today's agenda. We're welcoming you now and we'll introduce ourselves and the team here. And then we'll go through kind of a Startup in Residence 101, a little bit about the history and really the basics of how it works. Then we'll jump into an overview of the Startup in Residence application criteria and really start to share what we're looking for from cities as we kind of build this network of cities that are implementing the program. And then, we really want cities to be successful in this application, and so we're going to share some tips and advice from the STIR team on how to make a good application. And then finally, we're going to save the Q&A till the end, so you'll have an opportunity to ask us your burning questions about how to be part of this STIR network. So here's the team. I'm Krista Kanalakis. I'm the Deputy Innovation Officer in the Mayor's Office of Civic Innovation. Jay Nath is our fearless leader. He's the Chief Innovation Officer for the team. And then Dee Prasad is our Master of Ceremonies here for the STIR program. And she is really going to be your, to help you run through the details of the Startup in Residence program. So just to cover some of the basics, the idea behind Startup in Residence is really simple. STIR connects government agencies with startups to co-develop technology products that are addressing real civic challenges. So it really starts with, what are the challenges that your city is facing or your government agency is facing? Some of the, we were looking for high priority challenges. We really want to help solve some of the toughest problems that your city is facing. And then we do a big open call, releasing those challenges out into the wild and seeing what startups want to come and help you co-develop a technology solution that's directly responding to that challenge that your government is facing. And through the course, and where the magic happens is really when the STIR residency program is underway. And that's the 16-week program where startups are sitting side by side with your government staff, really trying to understand what are the pain points that your government is facing and how can they be addressed through thinking creatively and using modern technology practices to address those challenges through the development of a new product. And so a little bit of the history of the Startup in Residence program. We started in San Francisco in 2014. So that year we had six department challenges and 6 startups that were really collaborating on really interesting new technology challenges. And then we received a U.S. Department of Commerce grant to scale the program to Northern California. So in 2015, STIR expanded to Oakland, San Leandro, and West Sacramento. And we are really proud of this network that we built in the Bay Area. And based on its success, we think there's a really great opportunity to scale the program to North America. So now we're looking at bringing on new cities into the cohort, and that's where you all come in. So we're really excited to be here with you all to share more about this model, about some of the successes, and how what it might look like to partner with us on this program. So we're looking for 10 to 20 partner cities across North America. and hopefully some of you on the call today will be in that group. And then by we were thinking big on this. We believe that this model is replicable and can bring a lot of value to government. And so by 2025, our goal is to have up to 100 partner cities from around the world. So now I'm going to hand it off to Dee Prasad, who will walk you through the application criteria and really helping you all to think through what makes a successful application to this program.
Great, thank you, Krista. And thank you all for joining us. I know many of you had actually RSVP'd that are on the call today, and so we're really excited to kind of preview these application criteria with you as the application is now going live. And so just as an overarching kind of overview, there's 5 areas that we're looking at and we'll be reviewing for all the applications that are going to be submitted to the STIR program. And this is also how we operate the program and how we've evaluated success over the past 3 instances when we've run it here regionally in the Bay Area. And the first is demonstrated support from city leadership. The second bucket is resources, which includes team and space and budget and partners, and I'll go into each of these. The third is potential challenges. So what are you trying to solve? And the fourth is a commitment to streamlined procurement. And I know this one might have quite a few questions, and so I'll just preempt it in saying that to help make our program more successful, we've developed a streamlined procurement process that allows us to allow the startups to apply to the program through what is a competitive bid RFP process. And then at the end of the 16-week engagement, allow them to go into negotiations at the discretion of each department. And we'll talk into more about this in detail, but what we're really looking for are cities that are interested and willing to think about ways to streamline procurement to allow these opportunities for startups to come in and broaden your vendor pool and broaden the types of solutions that are part of your city. And then lastly is the financial commitment to the STIR network to help support the work that we do. And so we'll start with city leadership. And what we're really looking for is strong support and approval from your mayor or city manager or whomever your city's senior or county's senior leadership is. And what we're not expecting them to participate in day-to-day activities, but we do plan on inviting them to STIR networking events, provide the occasional quote for press releases, and really be the face of the city as part of the STIR program. The mayors of San Francisco, Oakland, San Leandro, and West Sacramento, our 4 current partner cities, have attended our demo days, have now actually just created a memo highlighting their support of the program. So it's low touches, but it's definitely high value. And so in the application, we'll ask you to list who your leadership will be, their name and title. I know it varies for cities and counties. And then just address briefly, how do you see the STIR program aligning with the goals and priorities of your city? For San Francisco, Mayor Lee has an agenda for safe, clean, and livable communities. And so we've really focused our programs over the last year in STIR in San Francisco to help address those issues. And so what we're looking for are challenges or priority areas that STIR can help add resources to, and therefore also be in line with your mayor or senior officials' priority areas. And so we're looking for alignment and not to just be something that's on the peripheral. The next is resources, and the first part of that is team. Kind of the core tenets for launching a successful STIR program is the team and who's involved. So the current structure is, aside from the mayoral support, is a dedicated STIR program manager. And this is someone at a senior level in the city who really commits to helping to implement and launch the program, participates in the pre-residency activities, including challenge sourcing and startup selection, oversees the activities during the residency, and so oversees the departments that are participating, and is really kind of our main point of contact for the STIR program in your city. And they'll also oversee some of the post-residency activities. And so the commitment level is 20 to 40%, and that will vary depending on the number of challenges that your city pursues. If you pursue one challenge, we foresee that as 20% time. If you're looking to pursue 3 challenges, well, that's going to take more of a commitment and more of a willingness. And so some examples in San Leandro is the Chief Information Officer who kind of serves that role. And in West Sacramento, it's their city manager who serves that role. And here in San Francisco, Jay Nath is kind of part of that. And then I serve the role as kind of the day-to-day overseer of the program manager. This is the most important ingredient for this. This is also who we look to see as the primary applicant. It's the person that's the most engaged and will get the most support from the STIR program. The secondary players are the folks who are participating in the challenges. And so for every challenge that your city is considering, we want to make sure that there's a dedicated challenge manager that's part of that department and is willing to be the point of contact for the startups and that engagement. And then as well, the department has an executive champion or a department champion at a senior level who approves the project, attends kickoff, and is available as a resource to help guide that challenge manager through any questions or concerns that they have during the program. So this is the core team. Not everyone's involved very heavily. The 2 primary roles are really the STIR program manager and the STIR challenge manager, and we provide resources and templates and everything that you need to get started for both of these roles. But we do want to just highlight that there is a time commitment that we're looking and anticipating for being part of STIR. The next piece is space and budget. And so we're asking cities to have workspace available to host startups. We do a global call for startups. And so we've had startups come from a variety of cities, countries. And so while they're also participating as volunteers, it's really helpful and impactful if they have a dedicated workspace alongside their department partner while they're participating in the STIR program. And so it can be workspace within the city, workspace within that department, but just an area that allows them to set up shop and really start diving into the process flow. The second is budget for potential procurement. So STIR really is a try before you buy process and program. We're allowing cities to submit challenges for potential ideas around unmet technology needs, and startups to come in and help co-develop prototypes for those. Some will be successful and some will be successful in other ways. They may not be exactly what you're looking to build, or they may not be in line with what your needs are, but you want to test out your theories. And so we're not requiring any department by any means to procure the technologies in STIR, but we want to make sure that departments that are committed to participating have the ability to secure budget for procurement if the projects are successful. To date, we've had 20 contracts from our 35 startups that have participated, some directly with their STIR host, and some with other departments and agencies as referrals. And so there is definitely a lot of different ways that contracts can be secured, but we want to prepare departments that this is a voluntary engagement, but the ultimate outcome for this is a successful contract. And so having the ability to either encumber or secure budget for these potential technologies is really important. The next piece is optional, but we would love to know who you think your community partners may be in terms of accelerators or academia or incubators or co-working space that can really help support the ecosystem of STIR in your city. They can offer workspace, they can host networking events, they can help bridge, be a bridge between startups and government, and also be a validator to help STIR in your city. And so this isn't a requirement, but it really does elevate and ground STIR and this methodology and a place for startups to be if you can bring in some community partners to provide some of these services or just some of these opportunities. And next is potential challenges. And so in this application, we're really asking cities to tell us what you're trying to address and why you think that solution is important for your city. We're not expecting you to have a fully well-defined scope to submit to us, but we do want to know, what are your priorities? What are you trying to address? How do you think STIR can help you get there? Some things to consider: are you trying to address critical, urgent priorities in your city? Or are you trying to embrace experimentation? Are you looking at IoT and smart cities and emerging technologies and figuring out a way to adapt those? Are you trying to modernize and digitize services to your residents? Is that a priority for you to improve the usability of your city services for residents amongst your community? And then just lastly, some tips and advice is startups are really going to be the most excited to work on solutions that have a real impact on city residents or city staff, and obviously have the potential to scale. But the real impact is pretty important to think about in terms of what will success look like for this project? Who will it impact? What will that impact be? Because startups are volunteering to do this, but there is a civic lens for them, as well as a profitability lens. Like, is this something that can also address scale and a real need and be a product that has impact? And so those two things really go hand in hand. And so as you think about these and submit some of these ideas, the STIR team will review all of the applications, and then the cities that are selected to move forward will work with you to finalize 1 to 3 well-scoped challenges that are a little more defined. They have a clear problem statement and identify the what, describe the context and the background for the why, and then identify what the real technology need is. Is it an app? Is it a software? We will help you determine those and see what the best fit is for your city. And in this webinar, there's also a link here and also on our website of previous projects that we've hosted in STIR to see an inventory of the types of challenges that have been successful. And so changing gears a little bit here, now that you're thinking about challenges and what's important for your city, something else to really consider is procurement. And so partner cities must be able to demonstrate an interest or commitment to streamlining procurement. We have our model, the RFP bus, the streamlined procurement model. Other cities have the ability to have discretionary funding. And so there's a multitude of ways in how you can procure some of these options. And so we're interested in learning what you think your approach would be to streamlining your procurement, what we should know about your city and what you've tried or experimented to do to date, and what you're interested in learning about from STIR. And so it's are you interested? And then also just share some background and some context for us, because every city and every municipality is going to be different, for us to understand where you are kind of in the procurement experimentation realm, and what we can help you do to make it really successful for a STIR program. And then lastly is the financial commitment to STIR. And so we're really excited about the growth of this network, and with that comes the ability to sustain it. And so we're asking city partners to demonstrate a financial commitment, which depends on the budget, the operating budget of your city. And you can see that outlined here in the slide. So if your annual budget's under 100 million, the participation contribution's 5,000. If it's over 5 billion, it's 25, and then there's a range in between. We're happy to discuss this more with you in detail, but we are requiring that once the cities are selected and we've matched them with the startups in November, that the financial contribution is paid before the January residency is started. and we can work with you in identifying exactly what the best timeline will be, but that is something that's important and required for all participating partners. And so I'm gonna just jump to one last slide here, which is our annual program timeline. Now, I'm not gonna walk you through each of these steps, but we're happy to do that if any of you have specific questions in a follow-up phone call. But I really just wanted to give you a glance at, if you're interested in signing up today, what would that look like for the next few months? What does that team commitment look like? What are you signing up for? And so we're kind of over here in column 1, which is August and September, where cities are applying. And then the applications will close on the 15th. And then we will review the applications and determine which cities we're gonna have join us and work with them to refine their challenges as a team in the month of October. Once we've identified their final challenges, we'll be publishing those and launching our application for startups to apply. Cities will evaluate and select their startups in December. That's also when the startups will receive an offer letter, and that is when the financial contributions are due. And then the program, the STIR residency, really begins in January with the scoping sessions, the hands-on 16-week co-developing residency that'll be accompanied by trainings and workshops. And then the program will conclude in April, and then in May, we'll have a demo day each for each city, and then we will also invite our partner cities to our annual conference here in San Francisco to share the outcomes from all of the projects. And that is also the point in which cities that have successful outcomes at their discretion can move into procurement with the startup partners that have joined them. And so we're happy to answer questions that you may have. You can type your questions into the group chat, and I'm gonna try my very best to open up the visual here, the audio here on the webinar, but we're so glad you've joined us, and we would love to hear what your thoughts are here as a group for the next 10 to 15 minutes. And then if you have more specific questions, please send us an email and we'll schedule a more in-depth one-to-one follow-up around your city's prospective needs. Great, thank you. Question? I'm going to try to check the audio. So those of you that are on the call, if you have a question, can you try either group chat or typing it? Okay, we have our first question, which says, it's from Bill. Hi, Bill. It says, can you speak at a high level as to what we get for the final financial contribution? This will help explain the value. It's a great question. And I will also send each of you our value slide deck that kind of walks over the benefits in a much higher detail. But essentially what you get is support for the program. You're going to get a dedicated account manager from our team that will be your point of contact throughout the program to help you launch this. You'll get access to all of our training and resources through the STIR learning portal that we've developed, which includes a guide for how to scope challenges, how to source partners, and the kind of the program guide for launching this in your city, as well as access to the STIR procurement methodology, the RFP bus. And so the financial contribution is really just to support our team's kind of account function for each city. The next question is from Jessica. Hello, Jessica. Could you share what level of a project idea is best for the September application, a longer list of brainstormed ideas, or a honed list of a few? That's a great question. Although I'm tempted to always say share as many ideas as you'd like, because we can help you kind of get to the next step. I would push that back a little bit and say, prioritizing ideas that have real impact, are critical need, or are aligned with some of the objectives that I shared before, or addressing, like you're modernizing a process, or you're looking to experiment. If you can bucket those, I think you'll get to maybe your top 5 to 10, and that'll really allow us to dive deeper. And if you share kind of a longer list of 15 to 20 ideas, that is helpful, but I think there could still be some internal vetting before you share that with our team, so that when we come into the process and are evaluating, we've seen some of the pre-work for that.
I think also, I would just add, this is Krista, I would also filter the challenges that you're submitting to really align with your mayor, your city manager's priorities. So we want to see projects and challenges that are really going to make, as Dee shared, a really big impact in your city. And so I think thinking about sort of the scale and impact and ability to sort of support your executive champion will be helpful to see.
And Jessica, I can also share some of our, for all of you, in our deck, we can share some of what our previous challenge statements have looked like. We're not asking for you to be at that level of detail for this application, but that may provide some context for the types of challenges that we're looking for, and may help you do a little bit of pre-selection. Yeah, one example that I'd like to share, since we have a little bit of time here, is our Human Services Agency in 2016 came to us and said that they had a need around their foster parent application process. And so they really just wanted to digitize it. That's what their kind of assessment was. And the background of that is they had a very complicated manual process for parents to apply. And so that was leading to really long approval times, sometimes up to 300 days. And so children, foster youth, were being placed outside of San Francisco. And so they were outside of their community, they were outside of their language. There was just so many reasons why we should improve that. And so we paired them with the startup Binti that had worked in the adoption space, that came in, assessed that challenge, and realized they actually needed to develop 2 things. One was, yes, this digitized application process for parents that was manual. I mean, it was digital and not manual. And the second was that they needed to improve the process for the social workers, because they were kind of merging these Excel spreadsheets together every week, and were spending all of their time kind of on this back end stuff and not enough time working with the youth. And so they did build both in that 16-week window. And what they ended up creating was a really simple, easy to use front end, but also this new back end system that not only improved their day-to-day function for the social workers, but it went from kind of being this really complicated piece of technology and user flow to now saving them 20 to 40% of their staff time. And what we've taken away from that is, like, social workers are now able to do more social work and less paperwork. And so that's just one example of how digitizing something, although that may seem very simple and straightforward, can actually have a real big potential outcome and impact for your city and for your residents and for your staff. And I'm happy to share more about Binti. We actually have a video case study if anyone's interested. Next question is also from Jessica, and she says, yes, happy to share your examples. And for department heads, as you walk through this, so there's some templates and resources that I'll share with all of you in terms of how to frame this for both your senior leadership, to get your mayors and kind of your city managers, chief of staffs on board, and then also how to communicate this idea of problem sourcing with your department heads. And they're 2 different conversations, but intertwined. And so happy to share those resources with you.
And we're also sending out a letter from the current 4 participating STIR mayors. So Mayor Lee, Mayor Schaaf, Mayor Cabaldon, and Mayor Cutter from our 4 cities. that we can share with your mayor or your city executive. So that will be coming out in the next few days, and hopefully that will be a helpful tool for you to get that important executive sign off.
Great. Are there any other questions? I'm just looking at the chat. I know it's a little delayed, but I just want to go back to Bill's question around value, and I think we've had a few cities over the past few years kind of launch their own version of a startup in residence program, and they've had some interesting issues with that. One is you need to find all the resources to kind of build the program. So it's like recreating the wheel, all the templates and resources and best practices, but also the startup recruitment is a big factor. It's like with STIR, we've been able to build a brand over the last 3 to 4 years and have a really strong network of startups that are interested in working with city partners and continue to ask us what other cities are interested, where else can we kind of leverage our technologies. And so what we're hoping through this opportunity is to connect those two groups together, is our cities that are interested in establishing their own program with the startups that are interested in participating, and with all of our lessons learned and best practices for how to make that 16-week engagement really successful, and how to structure that for your team. And so those are some of the values that we're hoping to provide through this STIR opportunity, and why we feel so strongly that the networked approach is really beneficial for the cities, the startups, and everyone else that's involved.
Yeah, and I would just add to that I think some of the cities, especially some of the smaller cities, have been really found it valuable to be part of the network, because we are leveraging the San Francisco brand and in this case, the Bay Area brand, to attract startups to work in cities. So it's sort of from the perspective of attracting startups to your city. We feel like being part of a bigger network, and that startup, working with you in your city, they can also imagine themselves sort of being connected to the broader network of cities.
Yeah, and that's been a great value add for our partners in West Sacramento and San Leandro, that although have the same issues and same types of challenges as San Francisco, have a different brand. And so being able to combine all of our approaches and city capital together has been really effective for generating some impeccably talented entrepreneurs who come in to help support the cities. All right, I'm just going to open it back up for a few more questions here. If anyone else has any other questions, you can type it in the group chat. Otherwise, please feel free to email us some more specific questions, or if you'd like to schedule a call with more members of your team, we're happy to do that as well. And we thank you all for taking your time to join our very first STIR webinar, and look forward to hearing more from all of you, and hopefully seeing your applications coming in very soon. So I don't see any more questions, so I will give you half an hour back of your Friday. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. It's been great sharing this with you, and look forward to continuing to connect.
Great, thank you. Thanks all.